The final boss of portrait lenses is here. This is a world's first for a lens, the Sigma 135mm F1.4, with some of the most beard-grabbing, beautiful, buttery, beefy bokeh you have ever seen. And in this video, I'm going to be reviewing this lens from the perspective of a wedding videographer slash corporate and commercial filmmaker and telling you whether you should buy this lens and where I think it excels the most. And as always, for the sake of ethics, I want you to know this video is not paid or sponsored by Sigma. They've had no say in this video, and while they did loan me this lens so I could make this review, it is sadly going to be returning to them very soon. Also, because I would like to help you out even more, I will link down in the video description to my filmmaker gear guide that lists all of the gear that I recommend you purchase for filmmaking, along with helpful links. You can download it for free at the link down below. Now, as I said at the start of this review, this lens is a world's first. And what I mean by that is that we as filmmakers and photographers have had a lot of f1.4 lenses at this point, and we've also had a lot of 135mm lenses, but we've never had a 135mm lens that's also an f1.4. Sigma has done it though. Forget the boring lenses, forget the ones that everyone else was making. Sigma is showing up with some new, incredibly unique options for us as filmmakers. And let me just say too, I love the 135mm focal length. I've used and owned an old Sony Zeiss 135mm f1.8, as well as their newer 135 f1.8 GM lens. And the reason I keep buying this lens is because it has such a unique look, where it feels basically perfect for head and shoulders shots of one person or a couple, where you get fantastic looking compression on your subject while the background melts away thanks to that f1.8 aperture. But what if you could have more? More meltiness, better low light. Sigma isn't giving us hypothetical answers though. They have actually answered all those questions, and the answer is yes. And here it is, the Sigma 135 f1.4 with more of everything that you have ever wanted. Let's talk about it. First off, yes, it is bigger than other 135mm lenses, especially in the front. 135mm lenses usually have a lot of glass at the front due to their lower f1.8 or f2 apertures, and this one with f1.4 is no exception. But I have to say, it's not quite as big as I thought it would be whenever Sigma told me that they were working on this lens. Yes, the front is quite big, but it's also rather short and stubby overall. It honestly feels like a big telephoto lens was hit with a shrink ray, because it still has one of the biggest characteristics of a telephoto lens on the side, namely a tripod collar that can be rotated. But I do find myself wondering if that is needed, because usually you see a tripod collar on a big heavy lens to help you center the weight. But whenever you compare the weight of this Sigma 135 to a Sony 135 that doesn't have a tripod collar, for example, the Sigma is only 482 grams, or about 1 pound heavier. Thankfully, this tripod collar can be removed by loosening it here and then pulling it off to remove it, just like that if you want to. And I have to say, I would probably take it off if I was filming, because I don't see myself using this very often. Otherwise, from a feature standpoint, this feels like a very well-built modern Sigma lens with a 105mm filter thread size on the front if you want to use an ND filter, 2 programmable buttons on the side, an aperture ring that can be locked or made clickless, and of course, an autofocus manual focus switch. Speaking of focus, it was very fast and accurate in all of my testing, just like all other newer Sigma lenses that I've used. And while I did see some focus breathing, just like with Sigma's new 200mm lens, the bokeh covers up most of the breathing, so I don't think it's much of an issue. Now, whenever I test a new lens, I like to show you some real-world sample footage. Normally, I'll show the footage and record a voiceover to explain what you're looking at, but that means setting up a mic, recording a take or two, and editing the voiceover back in. It works, but it can also be a hassle if you're in a rush. This is where things get super cool though, because I have a secret about this voiceover you've been hearing as I show off this lens footage. I didn't record it. I actually typed these words, and the sponsor of this video, Artlist, and their new AI voice cloning tool generated them in my own voice. Pretty wild, right? All I had to do was upload a short audio sample of me talking, confirm I had the legal rights to use the voice samples, and now Artlist can clone my voice. From there, I can type anything I want, speed up or slow down the speaking, change the emotion for how the words are spoken, or add effects, click generate, and in a few seconds I have an audio file that sounds like I sat down and recorded it myself in my studio. This is a huge time saver for content creators. If you mess up a line in a video, instead of re-recording the whole take, you can just type the correction and drop it in. So whether you're a filmmaker, YouTuber, or just want an easier way to fix your audio in post, Artlist's new AI voice clone tool is seriously impressive. Give it a try for yourself at the link in the video description, and when you use that link, you're gonna get 2 months extra added to your Artlist subscription for free. You gotta check it out. Let's get to what I'm sure you actually care about. With this much glass, how good does this image look? Well, let me tell you, it is freaking gorgeous. Look, there's a reason that I've always loved a 135mm at f1.8 because of the bonkers bokeh and compression. And this lens cranks it up to 11, or I guess down to f1.4. You get this razor shallow depth of field wide open that is so incredibly shallow. You can have an eyeball in focus, but not an eyelash. Or more accurately, it feels like the lens is focusing on the iris of the eye, but the cornea has bokeh because the plane of focus is so stupidly shallow. I'm not upset about it though. Like I said, the autofocus is good enough to keep up with this depth of field, and it looks incredible. Be careful using manual focus handheld though. Even your body's slight movement from breathing is enough to change the focus. Basically, if you love a 135mm lens like me and you didn't think it could get any better, it actually can with this lens. And if that is appealing to you, check it out. If you're filming a wedding or talking head interview and you're looking at that background, which is the best that the venue has to offer and it's still kind of lacking, with this 135, you're going to find yourself asking, what background? There is none. The bokeh has eaten all of it, and all that's left is the subject that you are filming. You may as well cut them out and put them on a green screen. The background is going to be so blurry. But hey, I don't have any complaints. I will link to the Sigma 135 down in the video description, and I'll also include a link to my free workshop that will show you how to book your next wedding in 30 days or less. I highly recommend checking it out if you're a wedding filmmaker or you've been considering getting into wedding filmmaking. Thanks so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe if you loved it, and have a great day.